I thought I knew everything about my family. Until I found this document in the basement. It says I'm married to a woman I've never met. Or maybe I'm not who I think I am. Or am I not really me? The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not the basement. Not the mildew or wet cardboard or old paint thinner leaking from rusted cans under the stairs. Perfume. Expensive perfume. The same perfume my wife wore when she wanted to calm me down after nightmares. I was standing in my parents' basement at 1:12 in the morning with a flashlight in one hand and my mother's funeral paperwork in the other when I found a marriage certificate hidden inside a black leather portfolio. My name was on it. Not similar to mine. Mine. Daniel Mercer. Same birth date. Same signature. Married to a woman named Claire Bennett 5 years earlier in Travis County, Texas. I had never seen that woman before in my life. At least that's what I believed for the first 10 minutes. The furnace clicked somewhere behind the wall. Dust floated through the flashlight beam like smoke. My phone vibrated in my pocket. My wife, Rebecca, texting again. You coming home? I kept staring at the document. The date hit me next. 5 years ago. The exact week I supposedly spent unconscious after a highway accident outside Tulsa. I remember touching the signature with my thumb. The paper felt warm. That was the moment I realized something worse than betrayal was sitting inside that basement. Someone had built an entire life around my name. And somehow, I had been living inside it. After my mother died, I inherited the house. Small place outside Wichita. Quiet street. Peeling white siding. The kind of neighborhood where television light flickers behind curtains after midnight. I hadn't been back there in years. Rebecca stayed at our condo in Dallas while I handled the estate. She said old houses made her anxious, said the silence bothered her. At the time, that sounded normal. A lot of things sounded normal back then. My mother had always been strange about photographs. Half the family albums were missing pages. Any childhood pictures before age 10 were either damaged or gone completely. She used to say water leaked into storage boxes during a storm. But standing in that basement, I realized something else. Every surviving childhood photo only showed me alone. No cousins, no classmates, nobody standing too close beside me. I found another detail the same night. A hospital bracelet taped inside the portfolio. My name again. Except the blood type was wrong. I sat on the basement floor for almost an hour listening to the refrigerator hum upstairs through the vents while cold air moved across the concrete. I kept thinking about the accident. 5 years earlier. The memory had always felt incomplete. Rain on asphalt. White headlights. The smell of gasoline. Then nothing. Rebecca told me I lost pieces of memory from the concussion. Doctors apparently confirmed it. My mother supported the story every time I asked. Eventually, I stopped asking. But around 3 in the morning, I opened my old medical files on my laptop. One detail immediately bothered me. The surgical scar listed in the report was on the left shoulder. Mine was on the right. I actually stood in front of the basement mirror to check. For the first time in years, my own reflection looked slightly incorrect, like someone wearing my face too carefully. I couldn't sleep after that. The house amplified every sound. Pipes knocking inside walls. Branches scraping windows. The ticking kitchen clock downstairs. At sunrise, I searched for Claire Bennett online. The profile picture hit me harder than I expected. Not because I recognized her. Because she recognized me. There was an old photo posted 6 years earlier. Claire standing beside a man whose face was partially turned away from the camera. Same height as me. Same hair. Same jawline. But his hand rested on her shoulder. No scar. I zoomed in until the image blurred into pixels. My chest tightened. I drove to Oklahoma 2 days later. Claire agreed to meet at a diner outside Norman. Quiet place. Red vinyl booths. Burnt coffee smelled thick in the air conditioning. She froze the moment she saw me through the window. Not surprise. Fear. Real fear. She sat down slowly across from me and kept staring at my hands like she expected something terrible to happen. I told her my name. She whispered another one. Ethan. The sound of silverware crashing somewhere behind me made both of us flinch. Claire looked pale under the fluorescent lights. She kept rubbing her thumb against a coffee stain on the table. Then she told me something that rearranged my entire understanding of my life. I had a twin brother. Identical, hidden from me since birth. According to Claire, his name was Ethan Mercer. And 5 years ago, she married him. Not me. She said my mother separated us as infants after my father disappeared during a financial investigation involving fraud and insurance scams. One child stayed with relatives in Kansas. The other was quietly raised elsewhere under different records. Nobody was supposed to reconnect us. But we did. Accidentally. Claire met Ethan first. Then one night she met me at a charity event in Dallas and thought I was him. She realized the truth before he did. Apparently, my brother became obsessed after that. Claire described it carefully. Not like a villain. More like a man slowly unraveling. He wanted my life. My career. My stability. My money. He believed I got the better version of existence. Then she said the sentence I still hear at night. The crash wasn't supposed to happen. Outside, rain started tapping against the diner windows. Cold static crawled through my arms. Claire explained that both of us were in the SUV that night. She said Rebecca knew. My wife had known from the beginning. For almost a week, I believed I understood everything. It fit too perfectly not to. Ethan envied me. Rebecca helped cover up the accident. My mother protected the lie. Simple. Ugly, but simple. Claire gave me old emails between herself and Ethan. The messages were chaotic, angry, desperate. He talked constantly about switching permanently. There were screenshots of wire transfers from offshore accounts connected to my late father's estate. Then came the most convincing piece. Security footage. Claire still had a copy saved from a gas station off Interstate 44. Timestamped the night of the accident. The footage showed two identical men exiting the SUV during heavy rain. One bleeding from the forehead, the other limping. Even grainy and distorted, I could tell one of them was me, or someone exactly like me. 3 minutes later, headlights exploded across the frame. Impact, metal folding. The footage cut out. Claire believed Ethan died that night. Rebecca and my mother supposedly identified the body as mine so Ethan could legally inherit everything tied to my identity. Then Rebecca simply continued living with the surviving brother. Me. Only pretending I was Daniel. I actually accepted it. Psychologically, it explained everything. The missing memories. My mother's guilt. Rebecca's strange emotional distance after the accident. Even our marriage suddenly made sense. Rebecca never looked at me like someone deeply in love. She looked at me like someone constantly checking whether a disguise was slipping. I returned home ready to confront her. The condo smelled like garlic and wine when I walked in. Jazz music played softly from the kitchen speaker. Rebecca stood barefoot at the stove stirring sauce with slow, controlled movements. She didn't look surprised when she saw the marriage certificate in my hand. That scared me more than denial would have. She turned off the burner. The silence afterward felt enormous. I asked her which brother survived the crash. Rebecca leaned against the counter and looked genuinely tired. Then she said something that destroyed the version of reality I had finally managed to hold together. You still think there were only 2 people manipulating this? Rebecca showed me a storage unit 3 nights later. North side of Dallas. Industrial district. Sodium streetlights buzzing over empty pavement. Inside the unit were dozens of boxes. Medical files. Birth certificates. Court documents. Audio tapes. Photos. Not just of me and Ethan. Of our father. And another man who looked almost identical to both of us. My grandfather. 3 generations. Same face. Same eyes. Same genetic curse. Rebecca explained it quietly while fluorescent lights flickered overhead. The Mercer family built insurance fraud schemes around identity replacement for decades. False deaths. Duplicate records. Inheritance cycling. Debt elimination. One family member legally dies. Another assumes the identity. Assets transfer cleanly. The system only worked with identical genetics. Twins made it easier. My father inherited the operation from his own father. Then my father tried to disappear with the money. That's why he vanished. My mother spent years trying to prevent Ethan and me from being pulled into it. But Ethan eventually discovered everything. And once he did, he became obsessed with continuing it. Not because he was evil. Because he was drowning in debt and terrified of losing Claire. Rebecca admitted she met Ethan first. Not me. The marriage happened because Ethan recruited her into the scheme. She specialized in estate law. Identity transitions fascinated her professionally long before she became emotionally involved. Then the crash changed everything. According to Rebecca, neither brother was supposed to die. But Ethan panicked during the argument on the highway. He grabbed the steering wheel. The SUV rolled into the barrier. When Rebecca arrived at the scene later with my mother, one brother was already dead. The surviving brother had severe head trauma and fragmented memory. That surviving brother was me. Daniel, not Ethan. Rebecca said they realized something horrifying in the hospital. I genuinely couldn't remember who I was. And Ethan had already spent years studying my mannerisms, finances, habits, handwriting, passwords. So they made a decision. They let me believe I was him. Not for inheritance. For protection. Because someone else was looking for the missing Mercer money. Someone dangerous enough that my father disappeared permanently trying to escape them. At first, I almost believed her. Then I found the surveillance photos. Hundreds of them. Pictures of me taken over 5 years. Sleeping, driving, working, eating alone. Every image timestamped, organized, cataloged. Rebecca watched me notice them. The air conditioner rattled overhead. I could smell dust burning inside the vents. Then she admitted the part she'd hidden. The memory loss never fully happened. Not completely. There were periods after the accident when I remembered exactly who I was. And every time I did, I chose to continue pretending. I didn't confront Rebecca after that. I drove back to my mother's house instead. Rain followed me the entire highway north, wipers dragging rhythmically across the windshield. Somewhere near Wichita, another memory surfaced. Not fragmented. Clear. The basement safe. I had seen it before, years earlier. Before my mother died. Before the accident story settled permanently inside my head. I remembered opening it beside Ethan. I remembered the smell of cigarette smoke on his jacket. I remembered the gun. And finally, I remembered who actually caused the crash. Not Ethan. Me. We argued because Ethan wanted out. He wanted to confess everything to Claire and disappear. I couldn't allow that. Too much money was missing. Too many identities depended on silence. When he grabbed the wheel, I pushed him. That was the moment the SUV crossed the median. I sat in my car outside my childhood home until dawn, realizing the final truth. Rebecca didn't manipulate me into becoming someone else. She helped me stay hidden from myself. Because after the accident, I understood something unbearable. Daniel Mercer was the brother capable of killing. Ethan wasn't. And the second twist came hours later when I finally opened the safe again. There was no warning note inside. No gun waiting for me. Only a cassette tape labeled in my handwriting. I found an old player upstairs and listened to it alone in the dark kitchen while rainwater ticked against the windows. My own voice filled the room. Calm. Controlled. Prepared. I had recorded it weeks before the crash. An insurance policy against memory loss. Against betrayal. Against Rebecca. On the tape, I explained everything. The fraud network. The stolen accounts. The identity switch plan. But near the end, my voice changed slightly. Not emotional. Careful. I explained that Ethan discovered Rebecca had been secretly transferring money away from both of us for years. Millions. Enough to disappear permanently. Then came the final sentence. The one that hollowed out everything I thought I understood. Rebecca never helped cover up Ethan's death. Because Ethan survived the crash. I did not. The man listening to the tape in my mother's kitchen was Ethan. And somewhere during the last 5 years, I had become so good at pretending to be my brother that even I believed it. The refrigerator hummed softly behind me. Rain moved through the gutters outside. And for the first time in 5 years, I understood why Rebecca always looked at me with grief instead of fear. Because every morning she woke up beside the man whose identity she stole. She was looking at her husband's killer pretending to be his victim. I turned off the tape before my own voice finished speaking.